Let me just share with you a little bit more about the Vietnamese organization before we get started. As Maurice mentioned, our mission is to preserve the stories of the Vietnamese diaspora, but we also do it in a way where we try to encourage and inspire intergenerational dialogue, because it is a population that is the people that went through the experience of the war and the aftermath of the war is also an aging population, and the window of opportunity to capture their lived experience is growing smaller. So it's important for us to encourage younger generations to be part of that preservation and that dialogue. In addition to our podcast, we actually do public programs like this. We do also host storytelling workshops for younger generations to help them capture their family stories and then shape them into short stories that they can pass on generations to come. And we do have a community blog, a VBP journey map online that I'll show you a little bit later, but those are just a few of the public programs that we have around this topic. So what I'd like to do before we get started is have Maurice share a quick video to introduce you into the topic that we will cover this evening.
My name is Tracey Nguyen Mang, and I was a refugee. I was born Nguyen Quang Trường An in Nha Trang, Vietnam, a post-war baby. My family risked our lives to flee Vietnam by boat in search for a better life. But we were not alone. There were millions.
We say, get to the ship. Don't look back. Don't look for mom. Don't look for dad. Don't look for anybody.
From the rain and tidal waves, the boat was filling up with water, and she was afraid they wouldn't make it.
The ocean is very loud. On the seventh day, there's a big storm. Everyone's panicking.
And it was probably one of the saddest points in my life there, the family being split apart at that moment.
They kept saying, you don't know half the story. Like, you don't know the real story. And I was like, well, then tell me. And they're like, we can't. You would fall out of your chair.
And I remember walking into fourth grade in Montgomery, Alabama, the first day, and they stared at me and I stared at them. And I just realized, oh, it's gonna be bad. And it was, until I got my voice back, until I learned enough English to yell back at them.
It was all about assimilation. I remember just like having friends over in our house, and I was just making sure that our house doesn't smell a certain way, that it doesn't smell like nước mắm,
mắm ruốc,
or mắm ruốc, or anything of that sort.
I think every Vietnamese American would agree when I say that living in the States means navigating two very different worlds.
Join me in documenting the stories of hope, survival, and resilience of the Vietnamese diaspora. Search for Vietnamese Boat People on your favorite podcast app, or visit our website at vietnameseboatpeople.org.
I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen from you. So that intro was to share with you a little bit about tonight's discussion. And so tonight, even though we will focus on the fall of Saigon, it's revisiting it 47 years later. And what that means is thinking about the refugees and how they left Vietnam and what it has been like to heal from the past, to assimilate generations later, and to have a dialogue between past and present and what that means for the future of the community going forward. So if you're new to this topic, you might not know that right after the fall of Saigon in 1975, there was a big mass exodus to flee Vietnam. And between 1975 to 1992, almost 2 million Vietnamese people risked their lives to flee oppression. in the new communist regime. Their stories are not shared in history books. What I learned growing up in the public school system was the Vietnam War, and the history of it ended at the Vietnam War. I was not taught what the aftermath was like in the country. I was not taught what it was like for Vietnamese citizens and civilians following the war. I felt like the experiences of my family and our community was marginalized.
You're not convinced? That.
It was marginalized by data points, and that anything that was talked about in terms of Vietnamese refugees was talked about in numbers and not in experiences. Their legacies will fade as the population ages. We're 47 years past the fall of Saigon, and I am considered what I would say is a generation 1.5, because I came here as a child, but I was born in Vietnam. So you saw a little bit about me in that video clip. I am the 7th child. I call myself a post-war baby. And the reason I say that is because I was born in a war-torn country. So there was nothing about the country that I really remembered because I left so young. But what I do remember are the stories that were told about how the country was trying to rebuild itself, how people were starving, and how families were getting